Well, we're here to interact with you on the situation of things in Imo. We are here to... You are just coming now, you are commanding me to update you on the situation in Imo. Ordinarily, as members of the Fourth Estate of the Realm, we should be reading reports on situation in Imo from you, so that you will be giving us on-the-spot reports on Imo. Unfortunately, there's no report coming from Imo. And the blackout by the media, by whatever level of conspiracy in Imo State, not to report the situation in Imo State, is an indictment to the Nigerian press. And I want this to be captured clearly, because the press should be able to know if one or two workers have not been paid and report it, so that it will not be our weapon against the Imo State government. And I think this is a challenge. However, let me once again welcome you all on this press conference, which the Nigerian Labour Congress have decided to address on our mission to Imo State to let the Pharaoh in Imo allow our people to go. The Nigerian Labour Congress is deeply concerned about the persistent violation of trade union rights and privileges in Imo State, despite our repeated efforts to engage in a constructive dialogue with the state government and agreements reached. The Imo State government has become habitual and serial breakers of agreements. We are worried, and we wish to state that on the first day of November 2023, we'll be in Imo State to demonstrate our outrage and stop the continued violation of the rights and privileges of workers in that state. Unfortunately, the government has relied on its powers to deploy fierce and coercive forces of the state against trade unions and their leadership to continue on its line of action. It has allowed itself to be misled in its belief that the continued use of threats and intimidation will perpetually dissuade Nigerian workers from taking their destinies in their hands. It is on this note that we want to warn the Imo State government that we wouldn't hold the governor accountable if anything happens to any worker or trade union leader in the course of this lawful protest. All the threats we have received of violence against our persons are noted, but we are not deterred. On the first day of November, we will begin this march to save workers in Imo State from the grievous harm the government has subjected them to through these past years. We wish to state it here that more workers have died of hunger, sickness, degradation than those killed by unknown government in Imo State. The state government has killed more workers who have not been paid their salaries and wages for 44 months, and they classify them as ghost workers. So we don't have any other thing to fear. Outlined below are some of the most grievous infractions committed by the Imo State government. 1, refusal to implement previous agreements. The government has repeatedly reneged on agreements, most notably the accord reached on January 9th, 2021, between the government and organized labor. Outstanding salary arrears. Shockingly, some workers have been subjected to a staggering 20 months of unpaid salaries under the unfunded labor of ghost workers. Unjust declaration of workers as ghost workers. Approximately over 11,000 hard-working individuals have been unjustly branded as ghost workers, their salaries diverted, even while they are diligently carried out their duties. vandalization of NLC State Secretariat. The wanton destruction of the NLC State Secretariat is a blatant attack on the rights of workers and a violation of the sanctity of their representative body. Implementation of the discriminatory pay, the introduction of the discriminatory pay practice and the imposition of apartheid-like policies in determining monthly payments is an affront to fair labor practices. Unsettled gratuity arrears. The government has failed to address the 8-year backlog of gratuity owed to retirees, showing a grave disregard for the rights of those who have dedicated their careers in service. Non-compliance with the national minimum wage. The government has persistently shrinked its duty to properly implement the 30,000 national minimum wage, a critical safeguard for the economic well-being of workers. Intimidation and harassment of trade union leaders. The government, which hunt against trade union leaders through various guises, constitutes an alarming assault on the right to represent and advocate for the rights of workers. Use of violence and thuggery. The continued deployment of thugs and violence against workers and their leaders is an unacceptable practice that undermines the democratic rights of workers. Misappropriation of union dues. The impoundment and illegal diversion of union dues, funds rightfully belonging to the unions, is a gross violation of the rights of workers to manage their collective resources. Declaration of pensioners as ghost workers. Approximately 10,000 pensioners have been wrongfully labeled as ghost pensioners, resulting in over 22 months of unpaid pensions, tragically leading to the loss of lives. Systemic harassment and intimidation of workforce. The entire workforce is constantly subjected to threats of violence and sack, creating an environment of fear and uncertainty. Resistance to social dialogue and collective bargaining. The government's persistent resistance to the use of instruments of social dialogue and collective bargaining is an affront to the principles of fair labor practices. Interference with workers' democratic processes. The violent interference and disruption of Imo State Delegates Conference demonstrates a blatant attempt to impose favored candidates on the workers, undermining their democratic rights. Nigerian Labour Congress calls on all stakeholders, including civil society organizations, to stand in solidarity with the workers in Imo State in the face of these egregious violations. We implore the Imo State government to honor its obligations and commit to respecting the rights and privileges of workers. As long as it refuses, we will continue in this course of action until we see the desired change. We are ready for industrial peace in the state, but the choice is entirely in the hands of the government of Imo State. Thank you, comrades. God bless you all.
Thank you, comrades. No, you're here.
The question on the industrial court, you say they have approached the industrial court. I think that I will leave it to the press to investigate whether it is only when labor calls for implementation of an agreement with government that the same government goes to industrial court. Are you listening to me? Because if I had an agreement with you and we say before 1 month or before 2 months, we are going to do A, B, C, D, and you fail to do it, and I say I'm returning to status quo, which was where we were before that agreement was reached. You go back to an industrial court again. The industrial court will tell you they can't do it, but you can disobey the agreement. I don't know whether that is what we're saying, because I'm not aware of any restraining order before now. But after our last action, somebody told us that whether a judge said he was restraining us or whatever. We don't have any order before us. But the issue is that when we finish agreement with Imo State government, because the first intervention was the leaders in the state, the traditional rulers, and they say, give us 2 weeks. We are going to sort this out. 2 weeks lasted till almost 14 weeks. Nothing happened. And those leaders, as of today, can't comment on what is happening because the governor has abused, because they said they met with the governor, say 2 weeks. Now, on May Day again, our workers were attacked again. We are not talking about even the attack during the delegates conference. They were attacked again, people were wounded. We started an action. An agreement was reached. The court then, they told the court that the terms of the agreement will be brought to court. June, July, August, September, October ended. The court didn't sit. And when we gave a notice that we want to take an action based on what is happening in Imo State, and within these 5 months, the Imo State government didn't do anything. They now rushed to the court on Thursday to say that why they couldn't meet is because of exigencies of the job they are doing. Admitting before a court that they didn't meet. So I don't know the court you are talking of that will now go ahead to give order that, okay, based on the exigencies of their job, people have not been paid for 40-something months. The right to withdraw services, the right to strike, is an inherent right. It is not decreed into or out of existence. It's like any other human right of an individual. That you have not paid me for 40 months, you have not paid me for 30 days, you have not paid me for 1 day, and I'm not working. It's an inherent right. Check it all over the world, whether the ILO or UN, nobody will tell you that you are not paid, you must continue to work, because a certain court has ruled. But I want you to understand this, that the Imo State government has destroyed almost everything, and the court should be careful, so that Imo State government doesn't destroy the court. As the security in Imo has collapsed, everything you can think of. The court, the industrial court you are mentioning now, is the same industrial court that was attacked by the Imo State government. And for years, they couldn't meet until recently they have been reconstituted. So are they the court that will now say, that they themselves want their family members not to be paid for 44 months? So those are some of the questions. Which right are they talking about? Are they decreeing on the right of a worker to work and be paid? After 30 days you are not paid. Is it not an offense against such state government? So what is the report that we are getting from the courts that Imo State government should not meet? At the close of court on Friday, we got from our lawyer, that the court adjourned till Friday. Friday is 3rd. So I don't know whatever they are saying. But we are going to, the issue of protest, we are going to do our rallies and protests in Imo State. If any organ, legislative, judiciary, allows themselves to be used to punish people, the number of people that have died in Imo State because of even husband and wife, because they can't get their pay, even children coming out of school, their blood will be upon anybody whose hand enters into this process. And it's a cost that will work in the next few days. So the other issue of whether there have been any meeting, I thought I handled it together, that for the past 5 months after that agreement, Imo State government has not said, this thing you are saying is lie or is correct. Can we look at it, to prove to you that you are not saying the truth? They did it. Until they went to court to say, we are sorry. It's because of exigencies of duty, we have not been able to meet. They asked the court to give them 1 day between to see what they can do. Between Friday and Sunday today is 2 days. So, comrade, I don't know whether there's any but there are 2 more. Well, in this place in NLC, we don't run on some people might think. You can even say we are sponsoring candidates, not candidates sponsoring us. Because I think that's the greatest insult we could take. to say some people might think that somebody is sponsoring us. That's it. And I want you to interpret it to be political. Because the decision to use poverty and starvation to cow Imo State, to cow the citizenry, to be begging on a particular governor is a political decision. That capitalist policy of bringing them down so that they will be beggars, and during an election they will give them 10 naira, is a political decision. Therefore, such people have lost the right to accuse another party of taking a political decision. Who can take a political decision? So what about it? Any bad governor, we are going to decide not to bring him back. It's political. So what? So let them say it. Before now, they said I wanted some of my cousins and whatever, but after their primaries, there's nobody from even my local government that is running for governor. So that one is out of it now. But yes, it's going to be political. And I have told you before that question, that if these trade union issues are not addressed, we'll make political demands, including the resignation of the governor. So, I don't want it to be mixed up. Don't say they say. We have said it the way it is. And it's good for it to be captured that way. And I've told you that more of our members have died. Their children can't go to school. They can't go to hospital. They are suffering. We have a kind of, even one of the commissioners tried to meet with us and was sacked as a commissioner for holding meeting with labor. On and on and on. So a worker has nothing to lose in this instance. So if you say, okay, if they say it's political, and so what? This is the time for political education. You have to sensitize our people and educate them. There is nobody that is not paying workers. We are now going to tell workers to vote for. Is that not clear?
Imo is hopeless. So it will be better being hopeless. People will then rise from that dust.
On Abulu's questions, Abulu, maybe you are bonus. Yes, not that you are honored. Hopefully, we may meet tomorrow with the federal government, all things being equal, on their report and template, whether all those issues have been met in the last 30 days, if I understand you. If that meeting holds without the Minister of Labor, because he will not be present in any meeting with us, because you asked that question, and you have 3W, and some of you were present after the meeting, and the decision was that all parties and police should leave there while we look at the issue. It has not happened, and he's from behind. So any meeting the federal government calls today with the Minister of Labor in attendance, that meeting will not hold. You can't meet with him, and you have noticed of late that meetings are no longer called at the Ministry of Labor because he's not in control. Therefore, to depend on him for resolution on issues taking place in about labor is to waste our time. If you watch tomorrow's meeting, the invitation we got was office of the Chief of Staff to the President, and that's where previous meetings are held. So the current Minister of Labor you are having has no place in the current industrial relations practice in Nigeria. I don't know whether that, on the issue of CNG, if they have launched it, fine. Maybe they are trying to fulfill part of the agreement we had with them. But probably tomorrow we'll hear from them and see how it goes. Thank you very much. You want to add?
So, in the absence of any more questions, this conference is to a peaceful close. Thank you for